Hey folks, in my previous video I reviewed a game called Villages, which was a game that offered a ton of pixelated content. In this video, as promised, I'm going to review another game highly based on pixel art. This game here, PixelTactics. This game takes pride of place in my collection of games. This is a game that was first released in 2012 by a company named Level 99 Games. Since then, this game has come a long way. The history of this game is dotted with a series of great successes. When this game was first launched on the market, it performed so well that Level 99 Games decided to add expansions to this little game here, and then came up with PixelTactics 2, which I also own, then PixelTactics 3, 4, all the way up to 5. What is great about these expansions is that they're not only expansions, they can be played as standalone games. So you don't need to have the complete series of PixelTactics games to play this game. You can just grab one of these expansions or the base game and you can play them right off the bat. Open the lid and you can play the game. Then Level 99 Games, to really max out on the success of this series of games, they also started a Kickstarter campaign that was successfully funded on Kickstarter for the creation of a big box that offered to be the perfect storage solution for storing all of these games together in one place. So I'm a huge fan of PixelTactics. If you're a fan of SRPG games and you love the pixel art, then let me take you all the way back to the dawn of the era of SRPG games and pixel art with this little game here, PixelTactics. Here is what comes in both the boxes for PixelTactics 1 and PixelTactics 2. Each game of PixelTactics, the base game and any one of the expansions, they add a total of 50 cards to the game. 25 cards for you, 25 cards for your opponent, and both the decks of cards are identical. So here on this table, having combined PixelTactics 1 and PixelTactics 2, we are looking at two decks of cards for the two players, which are both made up of 50 cards here, and the cards in these two decks are the same. The two decks are distinguished by the different illustration on the back. Here we've got a nice sword, a pixelated sword here, and a blue stone in the middle for the other deck. When we get the first player and second player cards, a big rulebook, which is actually foldable. Let me open it up for you. You open it up pretty much like a newspaper here, and you've got a ton of information written on both sides of this rulebook, but really well written, very easy to understand everything. Here on this column you've got all the actions that you can take on your turn. So I really like this rulebook here. Then here we've got a massive pool of tokens that you use to deal out damage, and you use these tokens to stack up wounds on your heroes and your opponent's heroes. And you see, you first use the little tokens here, and then you get to the big tokens. You get to use the bigger tokens when you have amassed a bigger amount of wounds on your heroes or your opponent's heroes with successive attacks. As you see, I have set up everything here for a quick demonstration of this game. We have decided to keep this deck of cards here with the pixelated sword at the top as our own deck of cards for this game. We have given the other deck to the opponent. By the way, these two decks, once again, I want to remind you that these two decks are made up of the same cards in the same quantity, so two identical decks of cards. Here we have lined up these 3 tokens to form a column. This will help us keep track of the phase that we're currently playing. For example, as you see here, we are going to be the first player. We have the first player card. I've placed this card right next to the first token to indicate that this is the phase, the first phase in the round. Then once we are done playing this phase, this card is going to move down to the second phase and then the third phase. Once the card has gotten all the way down here, me and the opponent, we are going to switch cards, and I'm going to be the second player for the next round, and the opponent is going to be the first player. But now, for this first round, I am the first player. First thing we are going to do is draw a starting hand of 5 cards. 4, 5. Okay, let's see what we've got. So here, this is the hero side of the card, where you've got the smaller illustrations for your characters. We are going to turn the cards upside down to look at the bigger illustrations. This is called the leader side of the card. We have to go through each and every card, read their unique ability. This is something that you do only at the very beginning of the game, when you have to select your leader for your unit, for your army. And generally, these leaders also have, they always have a higher strength and a higher defense power than their hero counterpart, okay? So here, let's say that, let's see what we've got here. So we have this guy here, for example, called Bienvenue Malgrove, Luc Van Gogh, Cadenza, Malandrax Mechi, Joel Calmore. Alright, so all very weird names. I really dare you to pronounce these names correctly. Let's say that we've gotten a close look at all of these cards here, at their unique abilities, and we have decided to play Cadenza as our leader. So we place him down here, right in the middle of our play area, right in the center of the middle row, and now he's going to remain there face up. He's not going to move anywhere. He's going to remain there face up, and he's going to be the leader of our army. Now we are ready to play the game. So we turn the cards upside down once again, and now we are going to take a look at the heroes that we can use and recruit in our unit. So we got the Monster Hunter, the Mastermind, the Scientist, and the Cursed Knight. You see that the names have also changed. Now we are no longer looking at personal names or fantasy names, but we are looking at the classes for our heroes. Every hero has effects that are listed here in these 4 rectangles of 4 different colors. This is what's really cool about this game, is that they're all multi-use cards. So there's really a number of different ways you can use these cards based on where you're going to place these cards. For example, here we've got a Cursed Knight, which has a very cool ability if this card is placed in the front row of our unit. I'm going to lay down the Cursed Knight, for example, here in the front row, right in front of my leader, because by doing this, I can take advantage of its intercept ability and block any ranged attack that will try to hit my leader coming from the opponent's unit. On your turn, you got 2 actions. So here we've already spent our first action to recruit the Cursed Knight. And as our second action, we're going to draw a card. You see, in this game, you don't get to draw cards for free. You have to spend actions to replenish your hand. Now, the second player is going to also play his 2 actions in his first phase. Then we're going to move down here to the second phase, which is called the flank phase. Now here, we only have 2 available spots where we can place our heroes. In the front and in the rear, you got 3 spots, so you can recruit 3 heroes in the front and in the rear. But in the flank, you can recruit only 2 heroes, and you can place them on either side of your leader. So this time I'm going to spend most of my actions to recruit 2 heroes, the Scientist and let's do the Mastermind, for example. I'm going to place them here on either side of my leader. And these are my 2 actions. Now, second player turn, it's back to us. We move this card down here to the rear phase, and this time I'm just going to draw 2 additional cards from the deck, and I spend my 2 actions this way. During the first round, you cannot perform an attack. You cannot launch an attack on the opponent's unit, because the first round is called ceasefire. But once the first round is done, so the ceasefire is over, now the second player, that now is the first player, can decide to launch an attack. And let's say that during his previous round, he decided to place here, this card here, the let's see what we got here, the Alchemist, right here, in the front. Now, the second player, which again is the first player, is going to launch an attack on my unit. He can hit 3 possible targets, these 3 units here, which are open to attacks. If I had recruited one of my heroes here, then these 3 heroes will be the available targets for the attack coming from that unit. But since I did not place this card right here in the front row, now these are the 3 cards that can be hit by the opponent's hero. If I had placed the hero here on the right side, leaving my leader exposed to attacks, that hero will be able to attack my leader as well. Since that hero has got an attack power of 2, and is going to give 2 wounds to my hero. When the number of wounds on a hero card reaches the defense power of that hero, the hero is defeated. For example, let's say that now the Alchemist has been able to give, I don't know, 6 wounds altogether. At the end of his current turn, when this card moves down to the next phase, we check casualties, we check if any of our characters is dead. So we see that this card had 6 wounds on top of it, so this card has been defeated. We turn it face down and we leave it on the table like this. Now this card face down, that means that that card is a corpse. A corpse takes one of the 3 available spots in your unit. So if you want to, later on during your turn, if you want to recruit one of your heroes here, you can do that. You first have to clear the corpse, remove it from your unit with all of these wounds, and then you can place the card again here. But you can only recruit cards in the current wave. So you can do that here if this is the phase that we are playing, but let's say that the phase was this one, you cannot lay down a card in the vanguard, in the front row, you can do it only here in the back. But it's always possible to spend actions to, for example, rearrange the fighting heroes that you've got in your unit. So for example, let's say that we are now playing the rear, I could move this card here, for example, down to the rear as one of my actions. I could also swap the position of these 2 cards, for example, and this will be spending 2 actions to swap the position of 2 cards, of 2 fighting units. This is a very tactical move, because if I had a unit here, for example, by spending 2 actions, I could move a card from the rear up to the front, and a card to the front, then back to the rear. So you do all these sorts of tactical moves during your game. You always try to cover your leader so that the leader does not collect wounds, because if the leader gets enough wounds on top of it to match his defense power, then the leader is going to be eliminated, is going to be defeated, and if your leader ever goes down, you lose the game. One last thing that I have to point out, there are 4 different ways to use these cards: in the front, as a front unit, in the middle, as a support unit, or in the back, as a rear unit. And based on where you place this card here in your unit, you're going to use the first, the second, or the third effect. What about the 4th effect? The 4th effect can be either a gray effect or a purple effect. A gray effect is called an operation. If you want to use this effect, you simply decide to play this card here. You place it here. You tap the card, you place it here. Now for 4 successive turns, this card is going to remain here, and the effect listed here in this gray box is going to remain active for the next 4 turns. And it's going to affect the game for the next consecutive 4 turns. Instead, an order, which is highlighted here in this purple box, an order is a one-time effect, is a quick effect. Is a quick spell that you use just one time, then once the effect has been resolved, you discard this card to the discard pile here, you remove the card, so you can no longer use that, that unit, because you discarded it and you removed it out of play. PixelTactics, the card game, is a very impressive little card game. Now, with all the expansions, this game is not a mini game anymore, but if you just grab one of the expansions or the base game, then you're just looking at a very small deck of cards, and it's impressive how much this game has to offer for its size. With all the expansions over the years, this mini game has evolved into something different altogether. It has really blown out of proportion. But the base set alone, or one of the other expansions, already has enough content to keep you playing for months, if not years. I keep coming back to this game to play more, because every time I play a new match of PixelTactics, I always find out something new about the game. I always discover some new skills, some new abilities, some new combos that I wasn't able to use in any of my previous games. That's why I like playing this game so much. This game has got a great replay value, great replayability. You're never going to get tired of playing this game. This game is also really dependent on the language. So if you're getting into this game, make sure that you have a sound grasp on the English language, that you can understand English pretty well. And also think about the other players you're going to play this game with, because they also have to need to have an easy time understanding English, otherwise you're not going to enjoy this game. Unfortunately, there's no translated version of this game out there on the market, as far as I know, so you can't get a copy of this game in your own language. I think you can get a translated copy of the rulebook, but then still you need to read through every single card and understand the effects, the special ability of your leader, so there's really a ton of text that you have to read through in this game. For example, when I play this game with my sister, she struggles a little bit with the English language, but she still manages to understand pretty much everything. She just needs to take her time, and our games therefore end up dragging on quite a lot. On the game box, it is written that this game plays out in half an hour. That's not entirely true. Sometimes the game can last even less than half an hour. Other times the game can drag on a lot longer and might take even up to 2 hours. It happened a couple of times when in a few matches that I played with a friend of mine, we picked 2 leaders with very similar skills, and in the end we couldn't manage to break an opening in the opponent's unit, and so the game dragged on a lot and we kept playing the game for more than 2 hours. This happened, and it wasn't boring. It was never boring, so even when the game drags on, it's always a very enjoyable experience. And this is another thing that really fascinates me about this game, is that the game always feels fresh. It's always a very refreshing gaming experience. There's always something you have to do. And you're constantly racking your brains to understand how to use your hand of heroes, how to rearrange them on the table to really make the most of your unit. That's great stuff. Now, to end my final thoughts here, I also have to say a couple of words about the online playable version of this game that used to exist online, that was accessible for all the people who enjoyed playing this game. They could go online and play PixelTactics online. Unfortunately, the PixelTactics Online does not exist anymore. I guess Level 99 Games has decided to take down the platform, which is a bit of a shame, I think, for all the people who love playing this game. So really, Level 99 Games, if you are watching this review, please think about reopening the platform, making the game available again for people to enjoy online. So these were my final thoughts for PixelTactics. Hope you enjoyed this review video. Until my next video from Italy, bye. Ciao ciao.